Hello my friends, how are you doing? Today I want to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes in landscape photo editing. My name is Olivio, I'm a professional designer and I want to thank all of my patrons who support me and make these videos possible. So the first mistake might come as a bit of a surprise, and it is to not have a clear idea where you want to go with your photo and the photo editing. And an important thing to understand here is that they complement each other, and the photo editing process, the style you want to reach, also tells you a lot about how you want to take the photo. Here we have some professional examples, and in this one you can see we have a beautiful sunrise, there is pastel soft colors. At the same time the photo was taken in a way where you have a bit of long time exposure to have this blurry smearing effect of the waves in the foreground, which gives the landscape also a softness, and so the editing and the photo taking fit together well. Here's another example where we have a beautiful, I would say, sunrise situation. And when you look at the colors of the landscape, again, they complement each other in a contrasting way in this case, because the lights of the city have been edited to have this kind of orange vibe in them, but then the landscape has a blue and violet vibe in it. So these are contrasting colors, and because of them you can see both of them a lot better. They stand out, especially the lights stand out, while at the same time the landscape retains a warm and dark but still very well visible look. Another thing that I want to show here that is often forgotten is the minimal look, the black and white look. You don't have to do both at the same time, but they can complement each other very well. And of course, black and white often turns the subject in the picture that you're photographing more into a pattern, more into a sculpture. So when taking the picture, you also want to think about that and how this would look when you edit it afterwards. The best way to learn these kind of things, to get a better grasp on what you like, where you want to go, is that you look online on professional pictures, make notes, first of all on how they have been edited, but then also on how they have been photographed, and if the photographing process and the editing process complement each other, even give each other reasons to be a certain way, and this will easily help you to become a better photographer and also a better photo editor. Okay, now let's look at picture problems with the editing process. Here are 4 very basic but often done problems. First of all, the 2 suns problem or 2 moons problem. We look at this landscape, it has a sky replacement, and you can clearly see the problem that the mountains have sun from the right front. This is why the mountain is in sun, but at the same time the left of the mountain and also everything of these little areas have a shadow that's coming from the light from the left. But when you look at the sky in the background, you have the problem that you see clearly that all of the clouds are in shadow that are looking towards us, and only the edges around them are highlighted, which means that the sun is coming from behind of the clouds. And so we have a problem where we have a situation with 2 suns in the same landscape. That is a problem. This is not only for sky replacement, by the way. This is also when you want to put other objects or subjects into your picture. Have a look at where the sun is coming from. Sometimes you can simply flip it if it's coming instead of from the left, from the right. That can be kind of easily fixed. If the sun is coming from the front instead of the behind or stuff like that, that is kind of not really possible to fix, or you have to paint in light and shadow. It's a very complicated process. You don't really want to touch that. And if you do composites, a good idea is to take pictures that have been taken on an overcast day, or if you take the pictures on your own, take it on an overcast day where you simply don't have a light and shadow situation, because there just is is no shadow in that kind of situation, or not an apparent shadow. Okay, let's look at some other examples. I will look at this. I know this is not a landscape. I would just want to talk about the structure we have in here. Let's zoom in a little bit more, and you can see we have nice soft blossoms. They are a little bit blurred. Now, what a lot of people do, what I often see, is that they try to sharpen them, and a result of that is, if we go in here to unsharpen, if I push this up here, you will see that the picture is getting sharper, but at the same time, the structure is getting a lot harder. I will overdo it here a lot so you can see the effect. And sometimes I actually see pictures that are edited like that. That's way too much. It looks good if you zoom out, but if you zoom in, you have a really bad effect, and even if you zoom out, it's not a good look. And the main problem here is that the flowers now, they look like they are made from stone. They look like they are made from metal. Sorry. They look like they are made from stone. They look like they are made from metal. Very hard, very sharp. This is not the idea of the flower you want to portrait. So if you want to do that, always look out. For example, here, if I reduce the radius down and also reduce the factor, you can sharpen it a little bit, but it retains the softness of the subject. Always think about the nature of the personality of the things that you see in your picture and what kind of feeling, what kind of touch you want to spin onto the picture. It's really important. So don't make flowers look like they are made out of stone. It's not a good thing. Another problem that happens from unsharpening, and by the way, these are problematic pictures. I'm not showing these as good pictures. I'm showing these as here can problems happen. So here we have, for example, a very dark area, brighter areas in the background, and these kind of sharp corners here. And now again, if you use your unsharpening mask to sharpen the picture, what happens at a certain area is that you get these halos around it, that you get these glowing edges. That is not good. But I often see that happening, especially when you try to sharpen a picture that is obviously blurred. And often people try to save the picture. Now, what I want to suggest instead is, when you are on location, just take 4 or 5 pictures if you're uncertain if the picture is sharp or not. And this can happen for a lot of reasons, especially with a living environment like nature. It can be far in the distance, or your hands shaking on the telelens, or the wind can move the tree around, and then you have a sharp picture, you have an unsharp picture. So if you make a series of pictures, there might be at least one sharp picture in there. So if in doubt, take multiple pictures so you don't have to sharpen it in software, because these effects are actually just thought to improve the sharpness, but not make blurry picture sharp pictures. Okay, let's go to another example here. This is this very problematic picture. One thing I want to point out here is that if you have a complicated situation, if you know afterwards you're going to do a lot of editing, take a raw picture so you have a lot of bigger range in there, especially if you know there is a situation where you have complex light, for example with a sunset, with a sunrise, all these kind of things. Also maybe with pictures where there's a lot of fog in there, you just have more range to edit it. But the actual thing I want to talk here with this picture is, don't just treat your picture as one whole thing. Think about the different areas, and this means working with masks and addressing different areas here. Also, in this case, looking at the histogram of what kind of treatment is needed for the picture. So you can, for example, clearly see here that in this picture just a lot of information is missing, because here on the left side in the darker areas, just not really information there. Also in the brighter areas, not really information here. I'm going to do a quick fix just to show you how to treat areas different and still being able to save a picture. So the first thing I want to do here is to use a little bit of clarity, which is good in this case because stone is hard in the first place. We have a lot of structure in there, so we can use clarity to bring out the structure a bit more. You can see now we can see the mountain just a lot better. The other thing I want to do here is to just create a curve adjustment. And this is just a quick fix. It's not final. It's just to show you a little bit on how to do it. So I will pull this down and I will just look at the mountain, not at the foreground, not at the background. I forget about these two things. And I want to adjust this just a little bit like so. So we have a beautiful light and more contrast and structure on the mountain itself. Good. So now that we have done this, the background, the foreground, both of them don't look good. What we want to do here is to save the foreground. So for this, I'm going to take a large brush, low opacity, low hardness. I set this to black, and then I can simply paint in the fog here again in the foreground. And it kind of complements each other well. Let's not do it too much, just a little bit. There we go. And you can see how this looks a lot better than before, and I treated different areas differently, so I didn't apply the curve too much to the foreground. You can see if I turn this on and off, it's just a little bit on there, but at the same time I used it a lot on the mountains. Now there is another problem that we have here, and that is that we now have a lot of noise in the sky. Luckily for us, in the sky there isn't a lot of information. There's a little bit of clouds over here, but you can use denoise, for example, to reduce that kind of noise if you just select the sky, not the mountains, because then you might lose a lot of detail here. You can also see that the mountains are not really sharp. So overall, it's not a great picture. Overall, you might consider to maybe not use that picture or take multiple shots with multiple settings, multiple exposures. You can also think about taking an HDR picture here if you have a tripod with you to just give you a better bigger range of possibilities to edit it afterwards. Also think about what is my photographic style overall that I'm going for, and this will help you a lot. Make it so much easier to shoot the photos and to edit the photos afterwards. And this also limits down all the things you need to know. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know the best ways to create the style that is important to you. Okay, that's it for today. Let me know in the comments if you have other important mistakes I should talk about. I can do another video about that with more mistakes to avoid. And maybe you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel and join my Facebook group. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Bye.